Okay, this is the final section of our generic course, which brings together a lot of the things we've explored in the past 3 days. It's about money, how we increase our income. This talk has two quite different sections. The first section, which will apply to many of you, especially given the current economic situation in the beginning, is a situation where you actually need more leads. You haven't got enough work to fill you up. The other section will apply to the great majority of you within a few months, is that you've got plenty of work, but now we need to increase your hourly rate. Both of these take very different scenarios. Okay, let's start talking about being quiet for work. Now, usually in this course, I ask questions. So you here are going to be under a lot of challenge to come up with these good answers. So the first point is that there's many different ways of finding work. Some are very easy, and these are the ones that relate to how you set yourself up on the system, gyms online. Then there's some that are very hard, which we don't want to talk about. This is things like door knocking, your own advertising, leaflets, things of this nature, things that take a fair bit of time and or money. I'm not saying you don't do these, but you don't do the difficult things. If you can get a job by clicking on a mouse which takes you 1 second, you don't want to spend a half hour delivering leaflets. So we start from here, we go to a number of things in the middle which are quite cost time effective, and then we go down here. So, who's been listening in the past 3 days? Give me an example of the sort of things we need to do to make sure the work comes in through the system.
Referrals?
Sorry?
Referrals?
Through the system, through gyms online. Unfortunately, you can't click for referral. What do you...
Have your leads, turn your leads on.
Okay, good, good. Ask for all areas. Surprisingly common when a franchisee contacts me to say, I'm not getting any work, what's the problem? And I say, you're down for territory. So always be down for all areas. And you can set that by default in the beginning. What else?
Follow up on leads.
Sorry?
Follow up on leads.
Yes, that's good customer service. But how can you set yourself up on the system, gyms online, just with a click of the mouse to maximise the work coming through?
Type of work that you do.
Yes, good man. Look for services. You're doing pretty well because it's a small group. I give you credit for that. Usually there's 60 people here to answer questions. Look for the services that are being offered. When you start off, there's possibly some services you won't be down for depending on the division. If you're mowing, for example, you might not be down for landscaping. If you're cleaning, you might not understand how to clean ovens, that sort of thing. What you can do with time, you'll pick up extra skills and you can put yourself down for different kinds of work. You'll be going to meetings, you might learn something from your client. If you don't know how to do a particular job, how could you find out?
Ask your franchisor.
Ask your franchisor, yeah. Ask your fellow franchisees. Ask for a special meeting to be done that covers that particular subject. Go online, look at YouTube, got some great stuff on YouTube. Years ago I bought raspberry plants. I had no idea how to prune them. I looked up on YouTube, a couple of videos, very quickly knew exactly what to do. Never got many raspberries, but I knew how to prune them. Good. What else?
Availability.
Yes, putting down for all areas. What else? Do you want?
Availability, be available the 4, 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah, put down for all areas.
Same day.
Same day service, yes, that's good. If you're starting off and you're quiet for work, it's well worth offering this because otherwise you could miss out on jobs. Tend to be very good too because they're pretty much slam dunk. They want it done today. You turn up there, you've got it. You had yes.
Unserviced.
Yes. Ask for unserviced leads. Now, to be asked to be down for unserviced. Now, what could that actually tell you? In other words, why didn't you get that job in the first place?
Because you haven't set your job, like what you're able to do. Like it may be something that you actually aren't able to do.
Okay, so it could be something like services that you're not down for. You could be not down for all areas. You could be down for territories. That'll pick that up. What else would it pick up?
The timing? What
The
you put-
timing, time of day. That's exactly right. Time of day. It's not an uncommon thing to get franchisees get quite upset missing out on jobs. And a conversation, and I've had many of these, goes something like this. I'm down for territory, amongst other things. I need work. A job came into my territory at 6:30 last night. You gave it to somebody else. What's wrong with your stupid system? Okay? Typical conversation. Look it up. Yes, you're down for not taking work after 5 o'clock. And the fact is, yeah, well, of course I'll take the work. I'll actually take the job. I'll bring him back. Do it the next day. Of course. But what's wrong with your stupid system? I said, well, you've got to tell the system that. You've got to tell them that you're prepared to take the lead, return the phone call. And if you're not offering same-day service, which in the evening doesn't matter anyway, then you can be taking leads on weekends, for example, even when you're not working at all. You just book them in, bring the client back, book them in for the next working day. So I'd suggest that if you're quiet for work in the beginning, you put yourself down for work basically 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, and just take whatever's available. And then when your job comes in, you're not working, you ring the client and book it in. Remember, all we're asking you to do when you take a lead is to ring the client back, aren't we? We're not saying you're going to do it same day, unless you're asking for offering same-day service. So that's good. Why else would a job go unserviced? Because you haven't got the times of the day right? Services? What other reasons could there be why a job comes in unserviced, even though you want work? Yes, exactly right. It doesn't cover, it might be in different suburbs or towns. So what happens is this, you don't want to travel huge distances in every direction, do you? Because otherwise you spend all your time travelling. But sometimes it's worth travelling to an area when there's plenty of work. Let me give you an exact example of how this whole thing works. This is an actual case. Franchisee's got a territory there. Now obviously what the franchisor would do was to give them any work within a reasonable radius of their territory. That's the first thing, because it's worth travelling anywhere in that area. When this guy started off, he actually rang me because he was running short of work. That was the reason for the conversation. He rang me when he was short of work. And what I saw was this. His territory, his area of taking work was stretched out to the west. Now, why did that happen? It's because when he started off, there was no sense in taking jobs over here because there's a couple of franchisees already taking work in that area. So he could go there, but he'd perhaps only get one job in a day or every second day, so not worth going there. However, when he began, there was nobody working over here. So it was worth him travelling there because he might go there and get 3 or 4 jobs to do. Now, it might be 3/4 of an hour drive, but it's worth it when you're making $150 or $200 or whatever it was. What happened over the previous 6 months, and the reason why his work was quietening down, is because a couple of new franchisees had started and they were taking work from this area over here. By the way, the reason that the franchisor didn't travel to the east is because there were franchisees who were taking work in this area. So there wasn't going to be a lot of work here, but so he did it to the west. Now, what actually happened is, when I looked at this system, I found there was some unserviced work over here. Why would that be?
Because the other franchisees are too busy to do it.
Exactly right. The other franchisees have got packed out. So what did we do to this? Got rid of that and changed it that way. So he just went to the east instead of the west. Now that little simple change changed the system. And by the way, the reason this particular conversation is interesting is because not only do I use that as an example in my talk about how the areas you cover matter and how you can change them, but one thing that we didn't have at the time, I knew where the unserviced leads were, but he didn't. So one of the things I did as a result of this particular conversation is I went to our IT department and said, okay, can you make it possible for franchisees to be told about unserviced leads in their region if they wish to? Which is a perfect example, and it happens all the time, of how valuable it is sometimes for a franchisee to contact me because I find out things I wouldn't otherwise know about, and we can help to improve the system. So now you have access to that. And that's why when you're starting off, you put down for unserviced leads. But that's possible because this particular guy showed there was a need for it. Okay, so we've got the basic areas there. We're looking for the services, the times of day, same day service, looking for the different suburbs that might not be covered. And that has to change. That can change a lot with time. That's your basic stuff. You want to look at this. By the way, if this is hard to remember, in the franchisee manual, it's about page 4. There's a section that covers every bit of this. It's only about 15 pages, the franchisee manual. You can read it in half an hour. It's well worth keeping an eye on every now and then. Very easy to look at, and it'll remind you of these kind of things that you can do. All right, now we come to the core. You've done everything possible there, which is really easy because that's clicking on a mouse. How do we actually, what else do we look at here? What can we do? Somebody mentioned a couple of things before. What would they be?
I said referrals.
Referrals, that's a good one. It was a good answer, just the wrong section.
Wrong section.
Referrals, well done. Yeah, that's great. All right, referrals. Tell me why you like referrals. What's good about referrals?
Because it comes from a happy client.
Yes, that's right.
Painful.
You're not paying any lead fees. Don't forget, the more you can make, and the less you pay us, the better. And one of the things that lead fees does is encourage you to do things to pick up your own work, so then the lead can go to the next person. Or maybe be unserviced, but I don't mind. That's not our business. You've got to look after the customers you get. You're not responsible for those you can't handle. Okay, so it cuts your lead, it cuts your cost down. Why else is a referral good? Why else would you like a referral?
A higher probability of getting the job.
Yes, it's a very, very good chance. It's pretty much a slam dunk, isn't it? Because somebody wants somebody who's recommended by somebody they know and trust. So obviously you're going to quote similar to the person you actually gave the referrals on. It's pretty well 100% chance of getting the job. So it's a great job to have. And also you don't need to compete on price. You know quite well you're the person they want, so you charge a proper reasonable price. That's it. Referrals are great. Okay.
They have a rough idea of what, because the person that's your job said, look,
Yes.
it's not super cheap, but the quality's good, so that,
Which is what you want, actually, yes. We don't want the person who's just after cheaper prices, the stuff you get from high pages.
yeah.
Some people have tried high pages, they hate it. They really hate it because it's so price competitive. Jim's is not. That's the big difference. Hmm?
They use a lot of those people on there too.
Oh yeah, they are. We don't have good experience. We actually tried offering high pages to people who couldn't get gyms. Clients would not accept them. They said, we don't want high pages. We want the gym system. We want quality work. We don't want masses. And the contractors hate it. We actually have a system called Gyms Plus where we can give surplus work to independent contractors. And they say your jobs are so much better. They're after quality, they're after price. They love it. They do not want high pages. So referrals are good. They're great. What's going to get you referrals? What would increase your chance of getting a referral?
Good customer service.
Great customer service is the first thing. If you've got a client that's saying, wow, not necessarily literally, but at least metaphorically, they're really, really, really happy, you are much, much, much more likely to get referrals, aren't you? That's what people want. And you do that too. Like if somebody asked me for a referral, I would refer somebody if I knew. What I actually do is I look up the star rating. And if a franchisee's got 4.6 and above, I'll refer them quite happily. And people want to know that they're getting a good person to come. What's the other thing you've got to do? Great customer service, and what else is going to get you more referrals?
Good quality work.
Yeah, great customer service, good quality work. What else?
Trust.
Ask.
Trust.
Trust. Oh yeah, yeah.
Be on time.
Great customer service. What else? Good customer service. What else?
Uniform. We ask our clients to.
You ask. Yes, that's what I was getting at. You're right. Everything's right. Customer service is the key, but it's also important to ask. Why would you need to ask for a referral? Why doesn't the client just give you referrals without you asking? You're doing well, actually, I must say. For such a small group, you're a real live bunch. You must be the cream of the crop, the ones who stuck around this long.
Oh, everyone else died. So
You're the ones that survived. Why do you need to ask? Why don't the customer just give you referrals without you asking?
because they probably don't know that they can, like, that referring is
Yeah,
not a part of your business, you know.
that's right. They don't know you need work, do they?
No.
As far as they're concerned, look what's happened. Think of what's happened. They've rung up gyms. You've rung back within 2 minutes. You've come to see them on time. You've got great presentation. You've done a great job. Obviously, that's what going to get you a referral. You must be flat out. But they don't know you started 3 weeks ago. So it's important that they know that you want more work. And what's the other thing you want them to know? Or what do you want to put into their mind? The idea of a referral. They may have a friend who would love to have their house cleaned or their windows washed or whatever, but they don't think of it while you're there. So what we've got to do is to let the client know. Now, here we come across a problem, because basically when you're asking for a referral, it's scary. Why? Why is it scary? What could you be frightened of?
Getting rejected.
Being rejected, exactly right. You fear rejection. And what do you fear that the client might think of you? That you're pushy, foot in the door salesperson. Is that reasonable? Yeah. It is actually a case. Has anybody here ever worked in a sales type job? Wow, there's a few of you. No wonder you're so good. All right. You know what it's like, don't you? Fear of rejection, even a professional salesperson, is a very big, regular fear. I actually, many years ago, I had a job selling encyclopedias door to door. I said it was a job because it was on commission. I never earned anything. But I tell you what, getting 200 people telling you no thanks in a night, it's not very nice. So we fear rejection, we fear being seen as pushy. So what we actually do is give you a little phrase, a little action that will completely avoid any fear of rejection and avoid any fear of being seen as pushy. Now, normally I do this directly to somebody. I'm going to stay right away from you for this. But what you do is you take out of your pocket 3 business cards. 3 business cards. Now, when you finish talking to a client, what would be more reasonable than to give your client a business card? That would be perfectly obvious, wouldn't it? Nobody would object to that. Okay, so here's my business card, all right? And here's a couple of extra in case you know anybody who needs work done. Have you got that? Here's my business card, completely anodyne statement, anybody would expect it. And here's a couple of extra in case you know anybody who needs work done. Now, have I asked a direct question? No. I haven't, have I? So the client can't say no, because it would make no sense. I haven't asked them anything. Could they see me as pushy? No, they wouldn't. But what have I actually done? I've told the client, hey, I'm interested in more work, and I've nudged their mind to say, is there anybody you might know who wants extra work done? And they say, yes, I've got a friend, he just done a great job on my dog. My cousin in the next street also has a dog. I'd like you to do those, because it puts them in their mind. Can you see that? Yes.
So at the moment, passing a card to each other is a big no-no.
Yes, all right.
But if we had gloves on and we did the same thing but just with the glove on, would that be okay?
Or you could just leave it on some surface somewhere.
Right.
I must say, the coronavirus does change a lot of stuff. You don't want to hand things to anybody directly. So you might. But let's face it, it'll be gone in a while. It's not going to last forever. We'll have a vaccine in a year or so. So it's general advice, but you might want to do it in a different way. Or, one thing you could say is, I've got your phone number. Look, I'll text you my details, and you know, they're there too if you know anybody who wants the work done. So you could actually do it completely electronically, couldn't you?
Yeah, if you give them a written invoice, just put it in the envelope and say, listen, I've chucked a few business cards in there for you as well.
In case you know anybody, yes.
In case you know anyone.
Yeah, so yeah, you've got to be careful of infection at this time of the day. I mean, we're being super careful around here, I must say, as you can see, and nobody's caught it. But yes, you're right.
Ago, you'd just be in their face going, no worries.
And you will again too. This won't last forever. It's going to be interesting times for us in the meantime. Though we're doing surprisingly well, actually, in terms of work coming in. Really quite amazing. Better than most of the economy, a lot of the economy. Okay, so that's how you get referrals. You've got to do great work, obviously, but you also ask for it. And that particular phrase or some version of that phrase where you just simply say, here's a couple of extra, or I've given you my details, so you need to call me, or in case you know anybody who wants work done. It will work well either way. It's the same thing. The point is you're not asking a direct question. but you're still telling them, hey, I need work, and hey, do you know anybody? Good, that's a great start. What else? I've got my pen. This is going to be tough. You've really got the challenge to meet up with normally 60 people are answering questions. What else would get you extra work? You've already gone to do a job. What else should you be doing while you're there? You're going in, you're mowing their lawns, you're cleaning their carpets. What else could you be?
The sign at the front, how do you use it at the front?
Yes, signage is good.
Maybe put some letterbox leaflets in the surrounding houses.
I'd put them down there. You can do it. It may work, but
Promoting more services.
yes, that's what I'm looking for. Upselling is actually a lot quicker and will get you a lot more work than almost anything else, apart from this stuff up here. Upselling is good. If you go and do service, especially if you do a regular service, most clients will actually get you to do more stuff, more things. Upselling is really good. Upselling is great stuff. Tell me why you love upsells.
Because you're there anyway.
You're there anyway. No travel. That's a big factor. Travel is a big cost in our job. It really is a huge cost. If you're there, your hourly rates immediately shoot up completely. What else do you like upsells?
That adds on to the cost for that day, the price.
Yes, you're going to get more money. You're going to get an extra job.
Shows the client that you're willing to do more and you've got all the services to offer.
Yes, that's right. And if you offer one thing, they'll often ask for other things too. I mean, what else you like upsells? Usually the hourly rate is better. Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you're cleaning out somebody's gutters, and I'll use that example because I was a mowing contractor for many years, 15 years, your hourly rate on gutter clearing is about 3 times what it is on mowing lawns. So it's more lucrative work, less travel. It's a great job to have. So tell me why we don't upsell better. Why do so many franchisees not upsell?
They don't have the
Not confident.
Fear
Fear
of rejection.
of rejection, exactly the same thing. And fear, and that comes down to fear of lack of confidence too. What else do you fear? You fear rejection, you fear...
You're afraid as well that client will be pushing.
Yes, you fear the client being offended by you being too pushy. It's the same thing as referrals, isn't it? And it's a reasonable fear. We all have these fears. So again, as with referrals, the important way to do it is to avoid asking a direct question. Because if you don't ask a direct question, you cannot be knocked back. So here's the way to do it, or here's a couple of ways to do it. The first one is this. I'll give you a couple of concrete examples because it's easier to do it with an actual service. I've just finished mowing somebody's lawn. Look, how's it look? You looking good? Okay, look, if there's anything else you ever want done, like if you want gutters cleared or roast removed or garden beds done, happy to help. All right? You see that? Do I ask the question? No. They can't reject me because I don't. What do I actually sound like?
Just listing other services.
Yeah.
Buy,
I sound helpful, don't I? I sound nice. It's not a direct question. It's not pushy. There's no fear of rejection. Yet it sounds nice and helpful. Or I've just finished cleaning. See, look, it's been great being here. Your house is looking really nice. Look, is there anything else you ever want done, like your oven cleaned or the bed's made or put your laundry through or change anything at all, happy to help. You can mention any services. You might actually pick on services they think they might want to have. So, for example, if you're in the lawn and you see a big pile of rubbish or you see gutters overflowing, that's a good one to pick on. So what have we actually achieved by that statement? What have we told the client?
that you offer other services that you may
Yeah,
not know
I'm happy to offer other services. Look, no matter what you put on your vehicle, your trailer, your business card or your invoices, they don't know you want to do this. So you're telling them that. And what else does it do? It jogs their memory, doesn't it? It jogs their mind. I mean, they haven't thought about the fact that there is rubbish there and you might be able to do it. It just didn't occur to them because it's just been sitting there for so long, it's almost grown, whatever, roots in the ground. So you're telling them, you've mentioned it. They think, oh, I wouldn't mind doing that because you mentioned something that's practical. They haven't noticed there's leaves coming out of the gutter. They haven't noticed their oven's clean, dirty, or they haven't noticed that you can hardly see out the windows. Just didn't think about it while you were there by you saying that. Okay, so is that a reasonable thing to ask? Could you do that? It's not fearful, is it? It doesn't scare you because it's not, you can't be rejected because you haven't asked a direct question. If there's anything else you want done, mention, example, happy to help. Okay? Let's just say you find even that too scary. And some of us are really scared of selling. I mean, I've gone knocking on doors to get lawn mowing clients in the early days of gyms, and it's a scary thing to do. So here's another way of getting extras, even more indirect. And I'll use the same two examples if that's okay. I've just arrived to do the lawns. Look, I'm sorry I'm a bit grubby. Just been clearing out the gutters for my last client. Okay. All right, I'm just about to leave the cleaning job. Look, I've got to go. Nice, lovely talking to you. I've got an oven to clean for my next client. All right. Mention something you have done or you will be doing. What have we done? We have mentioned the fact that we do the job in a very concrete fashion, but also jog their mind because the client's thinking, what does my oven look like? They might even think, have you looked at it? But anyway, the point of it is, because you're making conversation, because you're telling a story, there's no risk of rejection, there's no risk of being seen pushy. These little phrases are gold. Just remember them and just practice them. And if you delight clients and you look after good service, if you use these little things for referrals and for upsells, you will find that the work will magically increase. And it's quite noticeable too. The franchisees who keep busy in tough times and who make the most income per hour, invariably they're very good at upselling. Okay, we're doing well. You're doing great. What else? What else can we do to pick up clients? Pick up that we don't have.
Give them some advice to bring down costs.
Yeah, you give them the best advice. That'll make them very happy. It's looking after clients very well. What else could you concretely do to find more work?
You can tell your friends and families about you.
Sorry?
Tell your friends and families.
Okay, you can go to friends and family. What can you offer friends and family that's going to make it a fantastic deal?
A discount.
Discount? You're going to do better than that, can't you?
Free service.
Free service. Good man. That's exactly right. It's a great discount. What's a better discount than free? Okay. What do we call this? Pay for work guarantee. Actually, you're a good bunch because normally I have a trouble getting this out of people. Pay for work guarantee. That's the best place to go. Now, if you know people, their friends, their family, you're offering to do it for free. Now, think about this, okay? Now, I'm not talking about normal times. It might be difficult right now, but everybody here, who's in cleaning? Let's have some cleaners here.
Carpet and that's...
Who's in general cleaning? What's your name?
Raj.
Raj.
Raj Singh.
Okay, Raj. I want everybody here to presume that you all live within a reasonable radius of Raj. You all live fairly close to him. Okay, is that reasonable? You do live close to cleaning franchisees, but here's the input. Guys, I want you to go home, and now I'm avoiding questions about infection just at this moment. But I want you to go home, and I want you to tell your significant other, presuming that you don't do the housework yourself. If you do, well, good on you. But if you don't, that next week, Raj is going to come and clean your house immaculately for free, for nothing. Okay? Completely no obligation, no cost. He's going to do a magnificent job. Now, you know what your partners are going to say, don't you? They're going to say, no possible way. Because when I work hard all week, the one thing I really, really look forward to on the weekend is cleaning the toilets. Is that so? Is that how you feel about it? No, of course not. You'd love it if Raj came, wouldn't you? Because you get it for free. And you're not worried about it because you know perfectly well what's going on, don't you? Because you know that he's doing pay for work guarantee. But you know what's really great about this? Now, I'll pick somebody from a different division. You're in handyman. Hassan is in handyman. So Raj is going to come and clean your place. It's going to do a great job. I can just tell looking at it. It's going to be a fantastic operator. All right? Going to clean your place. And you're really pleased. And you're married, you've got a partner. Your wife is so wrapped in what he's done. She's saying, now you're making so much money as Jim's handyman, I want this guy to come regularly. Now that probably won't work. It might, but it probably won't. But you're actually out on the job. And don't forget, you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of clients that you're going to be talking to. And you're chatting to one of your clients because you do want to spend time talking to your clients. And the client says, oh my jeepers, you know, I love what you're doing around the place, but boy, could I do with a good cleaner. And you say, well, last week, Raj came and did our place, and my wife was raving about it. He is fantastic. Can I get him to give you a call? So then you go and ring up Raj and tell him, I've got a red hot client for you, really nice lady, go and see them. You do that a couple of times, you know what's going to happen? Raj is out there cleaning, and he sees a bit of, you know, broken furniture or whatever, something lying around the place, whatever. Needs a handyman. Hey, who's better than his mate to come and do it? Because you're helping each other. You see what's happening? You're passing work back and forward. We have these groups that actually join together to refer work to each other across division. The problem we have is that when they start doing that, they get so much work, they can't cope, and the groups tend to fall apart. But that is a really, really good way of using pay for work guarantee. And the first thing, if anybody actually says to me, and I get cases where, say, a franchise has moved into a new town, doesn't know anybody, that's a tough time to start. But then what I would always do is I'd contact either the local franchisor or the local franchisees, and I'd make an introduction. And quite often what I would do is get them to invite the franchisee, invite you to their meeting. So you go there and you go to a meeting where there's 15 mowing guys there, depending on where you are, of course, and you offer to clean their house for nothing. And immediately you've got all these contacts, and you can start passing work back and forth. So other franchisees are a great place to start because you know what's going on. Why could there be a challenge with this? What do you think is the issue with giving away your services?
It takes away from trying to find pay service.
It actually, in fact, it'll find you a huge amount of pay work. And every time we've ever tried this and measured it, you pick up far more paid work than you do freebies for. So it's actually a very efficient and quick way to build your business. But why do people not do it? Why don't you go and knock on your doors in your street and offer it to all your neighbours and everybody in the street and get flat out that way? Why not? Hmm? They don't know you, yes. So what are they thinking?
You're a stalker.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Are you trying to case my place for, you know? I mean, the uniform helps a bit, I've got to say. But on the whole, people are suspicious of anything free. Is that right? Yes. Now, you mentioned my career mowing, selling encyclopedias. Do you know how we used to do it? A set of encyclopedias in those days was $500. And this is back, we're talking 1970. That's a lot of money. People really wanted these things, but they were so expensive. So you know what we would do? This is what we're taught to do in the sales pitch. You go to somebody's door and you say, look, we've got a promotional exercise. We're giving away free sets of encyclopedias. How's that? Free. Yeah, okay, interested. The only thing we require is we wanted to know whether you're serious, whether you would really use these, because otherwise it's just a waste of sitting there doing nothing. Would you make use of them? So obviously, if you were going to use them, you'd want to update the yearbook, wouldn't you? And you'd want the information service to go with it. These days we use Google, which is fantastic. In those days there was an information service that you could attach to it. And there's this and there's this and there's this. And before you know it, it's $500. So people are very suspicious of freebies. One person that I know used to do it very well with strangers. He would actually use that knowing that was for a response, he would actually allow for it. And the way he'd do it is he'd go and knock on a door of somebody he didn't know, and he said, look, I'm here from Jim's. We're doing a promotional exercise offering free services. Here's a couple of opportunities for you. But look, there is one catch. Pause. Sometime in the next week, a lovely lady called Jennifer will ring from the office just to check that the job's been done well. Okay? So he actually brought up the idea of a catch because he knew it was on their minds. He actually got about a 50% strike rate, which is quite remarkable.
That's not bad.
That's extremely good. If you've been in sales, you know that, don't you? Yeah. All right. Now, most of us are not that good. So where do we start?
With friends and
family. Friends, family, relatives, neighbours, local shopkeepers, members of your local sporting group, parents of kids at your kids' school, community groups, anybody group we're part of, church, anything. Always, if you know somebody already and you explain what's going on, you explain the fact that you're doing promotional work, there's no cost, you'll get paid by your franchisor, it's easy. We had one young bloke who was actually studying off in Ballarat. Have anybody ever been to Ballarat in the winter? who's going to try to start a business from scratch, mowing lawns in Ballarat going into winter. Anybody know what Ballarat is like in the wintertime? Lovely, warm, tropical breezes and stuff. It's actually one of the coldest places on earth outside Antarctica. All right, seriously, it is. He actually one time, he asked his client, "Can I mow your snow?" That's how cold it is. You can imagine starting a mowing business without clients in Ballarat in winter. Now, one thing he did, which not from him, but somebody else told me, there was a party where he sort of vaguely knew everybody there in some way. And he actually had a foolscap pad and a pen, and he went around and gave it to everybody. He said, "Write down your name, address and phone number. I'm going to come and mow your lawns." And that young bloke never missed out on making his paperwork guarantee every week during that first dreadful winter. And by the time the spring came, he'd leaped ahead. So start with people you know, anybody you know, any community groups you're part of. CFO, anybody. We're all part of something usually. We know people vaguely, not necessarily well close friends, but they're great too, but friends of friends, people in our wider circle. So use those. And of course, franchisees from other divisions. It's going to be, most of us have got dozens of franchisees from other divisions all around, and they're great people to offer for. So it takes a bit of effort, a bit of challenge, but it will work. I have never known any franchisee to give good service, I do mean that part too, and offer pay for work guarantee consistently to fail for lack of work. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I talk to many, many franchisees who failed over the years because they often ring me when they do. And far too many. And I always ask the question, what about pay for work guarantee? And do you know what they say? If they failed for lack of work, every time, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And sometimes, yeah, and that's heartbreaking. It really is. This is a person who's got this guaranteed way, not just to put a floor under your income. No, it's not usually a lot. It's a lot less than most of you will be making. Pay for work guarantee will be anything from $1,000 to $1,500 per week. So most of you will actually make a lot more than that down the track of it. But it's a basic income that allows you to pay your rent or your mortgage. But more important than that, it's a way of building your business. Because if you do pay for work guarantee, what can you get? You can get referrals, can't you? You can upsell. And there's other things we haven't even talked about yet. So you can pick up a whole lot of extra work by doing this. And it's so much better than sitting at home feeling depressed and saying this thing isn't working. Well, if you sit around home and you don't do it, it's not working because you're not making it work. You need to get out there and do it. And if you do it and you give good service, you will be successful. Never known a case of anybody failing who did this. The problem is, people don't want to do it sometimes. Why do you think that is? It's like a failure, yeah. There's a sort of sense, hey, I'm not good enough to make it by yourself. But hey, it's quite the opposite. If any of you I talk to, and I'm going to write you all an email after the first month you've been out, from your start date, I'm going to write you an email, and I want you to respond to me. Will you do that?
Yes.
Everybody, will you respond to me directly? I really want to hear from you. It'll also tell you something, because I'll respond very fast and personally to what you say. And one of the questions I'm going to ask you in that email is about pay for work guarantee. Normal response I get back these days, and even with everything that's been going on, is I've had plenty of work, I haven't needed it. But I will ask that question, and I want to ask you about it. If you haven't done it, why not? If your income is below the level, why haven't you done it? And then I'll talk to you about how you go about doing it and why. But if you have done it, one thing I would do is I would congratulate you. And I can predict absolutely. If you write back to me and say you've done pay for work guarantee, the two things I'm going to congratulate you for is good surveys, which most of you will have, and if you've done pay for work guarantee, I will congratulate you, because that is not a sign of failure, that is a sign of success. That is a sign of somebody headed in the right direction, somebody who's going to do well, somebody who's not going to fail. It's quite the opposite to a sign of failure. It's a sign of, and I've talked to people who built their business on pay for work guarantee, and I would in normal times I would shake their hands and congratulate them and say, well done, that's fantastic, that's great to hear. It's a sign of success. And I tell you what your franchisor should be doing is encouraging you to do it. In fact, if there's any suggestion your franchisor is making it difficult in any way at all, you get in contact with me because it's a very, very serious offence not to pay paperwork guarantee promptly and easily. It's very simple too. Sometimes franchisees can say to me, I need to know how to do it, I need a chart. No, you don't. Name, address, phone number. Anybody not a client of the business, you give that to your franchisor, they've got to pay you, and you let me know if you've got any problems. Franchisors, especially these days, are very ready to pay, let me tell you. They do not want me to come down on their back because there is no more serious offence in Jim's group than not paying a paperwork guarantee properly and properly. In the past, we had situations where franchisors would come up with reasons not to pay. I had one guy who actually, I asked him, when he rang me to say he'd failed, he wasn't making a business of it, and I said, what about paperwork guarantee? And he said, I did a couple of free services and my franchisor said they were too far from my territory. And I said, that's absolutely outrageous. There's nothing in the contract. I don't care if you're in Hobart and you do a free job in Cairns. It makes no difference at all. The fact of the matter is you do a free job to somebody who's not currently client of the business, and you get paperwork guarantee for that paid by your franchisor. There's other things being said over the years too. Not lately. Mostly they don't do it. And that's one reason I particularly asked this question. So I want to know. And if you do, and if you're below it, ask me. It's not a sign of failure. It's actually something that you pay for if you think about it. Because when you buy the business, especially if you buy a new business without existing clients, what do you think you're paying for? Well, you're paying for your franchisor to put a lot of extra effort in finding you work, which might mean extra advertising, which they'll often do, and certainly it covers paperwork guarantee. It's your own money coming back. But the wonderful thing about it is, if you do it, I can't think of it in recent years any time when any franchisor has paid more than a couple of $1,000s, which is much less than what you're paying for the business. And the reason being that franchisees who offer paperwork guarantee so quickly build their business. And if we're starting off in these tough times, which we are now, some divisions are very little affected, mowing for example. Other divisions like cleaning had a bit more of a challenge. But we're starting off in tough times. It's all the more important to do that. So get out there and offer it. Okay, that's great. What else? Yes?
So what are your thoughts on offering a free service to real estate agents?
Yeah, sure. They're not a client.
It can be very good, it can be detrimental.
Of course. If they're not already a client, I mean, you can't offer a service to someone who's you just got a lead from. That's not allowed. You actually don't have contact. But if you want to knock on the door of a property manager, again, once conditions allow us to do these kinds of things, you can actually say to them, look, can I offer you a free service? Can I come and mow your own lawns? Or what are you in? Which division are you in? Mowing. Mowing, yeah, okay. Can I mow your own lawns? Can I come and wash your windows at your house? No charge at all. It's this pay for work guarantee thing we have where franchisor pay me. It's a good idea.
So you can go to visit them, draw them some business cards, and by the way, if you like, I can go to mow your lawn.
Let's face it, if you get in there and you do a great job for the agent, for the property manager, she's in a good position, usually it's a woman, to offer you a lot more work. So that'd be a fantastic thing to do. If you've got any sort of contacts in that area, it'd be great to do that. Anybody at all. Yeah, a local shopkeeper, for example, would be great. If you go to a local 7-Eleven or something like that, to get to know the owner there, offer to go and do their place, or even the property itself, and leave a few business cards on the counter. They can help you a lot. They know people. So, and be a good customer and keep on going in and buy your stuff, and you pay a bit more and then get some more jobs out of it. We can help each other a lot. Okay? So paperwork guarantee is really fantastic. What else can we do?
So what's the best way this time? Because we're going to start maybe next week. Everything is closed now. So what's the best way we can start work? Everything is closed now. Or maybe next 6 months is going to be same. So what we can do the best to contact the people?
Look, if the government says to us, you cannot go and do your job, which we're going to challenge, by the way, too. Even in New Zealand, which is effectively everybody's supposed to be closed down, we're actually going to put a claim in. So there's a special job you can go to and say, we are essential services, and we'll point out that for our outside jobs in the lease, there is zero possibility of infection. We don't need to see clients. We can do it all electronically. We can get paid electronically. So we're going to make the point So the question is whether we will be shut down is another matter. But even if we are, it's only going to be for a few weeks. Yes?
I was thinking of going to the schools, because school holidays or if school holidays already started, they'd have carpets in their classrooms, yes?
Yeah, sure.
So if they're closed down, we wouldn't be affecting anybody.
Why not? Especially if you know, if it's a kid's school, for example.
No, new to the area.
Okay, you can try it.
I can try it, can't I?
It's always, it doesn't hurt to do those kind of things, and the school could be a great ongoing business. You do it once and they like it, you can do it again once they see the quality of your work. People, once they've used you once, will want to use you again. Yeah. So these things will work. It doesn't matter what the conditions are. We're facing challenging times, but let me tell you, for most of our franchisees, it's actually easier to find work now in the middle of this crisis than it was back in the 90s when we started off. Seriously. We used to have teams of candidates knocking on doors to find mowing jobs. These days, we've still got unserviced leads. I get franchisees contacting me to say, hey, we should, because of the crisis, we should. In fact, one guy emailed me yesterday and he said, because of the crisis, we shouldn't pay any fees. And I said, well, hang on a bit, you're still asking for territory. Why don't you actually ask for more? And he said, no, I'm flat out and busy, but so I don't know why you were saying you shouldn't pay any fees.
Why are you ringing me for this?
It was a response to an email. But people try all kinds of things. I mean, if I could get away with paying no fees, but it wasn't much of an excuse. I had 2 people contact me. In both cases, I said to them, try asking for work. And then I told them how many unserviced leads they have. You know, we're still getting hundreds of unserviced jobs. It's not what you might think. I mean, our idea of a crisis is, until recently, we were getting about close to a third of our leads were unserviced. Even now, we're still getting unserviced leads. In fact, I just went into... Yeah. Well, it depends on the division. Some divisions are more affected than others. But the outside ones like mowing and fencing are doing incredibly well. And most of our guys are completely flat out. Anyway, but these things work.
Sorry for the question. Because of my lack of knowledge, probably in the next weeks, many people are going to start working from home.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a lot of time at home. Probably some of them might think of doing the jobs themselves. Do you think that?
Well, they might think of doing the job themselves, but they might also notice how out of control the place is and they want something done because they're noticing it. But don't forget, you said you're mowing, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Don't forget, people mostly don't have a mower. They don't have a lawnmower. So what are they going to do, go out with a pair of kitchen scissors? I mean.
No, I don't know. I just ask because I don't know.
Well, what I'm saying is that you might think we're affected very badly, but in fact we're probably one of the safest areas of the economy. Apart from being in supermarkets. Oh, Jim's Home Fresh is fantastic. That's home delivery of fruit and veg. They're doing really, really well. But most of our franchisees are still quite busy. Yes.
I think the government's seen we've seen all the queues at Centrelink, and they'll know if they shut down any more industry,
Yeah.
the whole system will collapse, and they've already got one eye on the economy and just to keep it going.
Well,
that will do more damage than the actual virus.
Well, yeah, that's the case. And in America, I noticed they said that Donald Trump is saying the economy is going to open up again. Because from their point of view, having 1% of the population die from virus is better than having an economic meltdown. And people are going to have to measure these things, the damage of this thing. Very few people have died from this. The actual economic impact is vastly greater at this stage. But we're going to make a very strong argument. One thing we may do, and this is getting off the normal topic of the talk, one thing we may do if we find out who to do to, we might actually be sending you an email saying contact your local MP or email this number and let's make an appeal that we should be able to keep on doing because most of our jobs shouldn't be affected if we're mowing lawns or building fences. But even something like cleaning, for example. Now, you might think cleaning's one business that is going to go down with the virus, but you know what some people are doing? They're actually getting more cleaning done. There's companies that are saying they normally get done once a week. We want you in every day. Why? Because the cleanliness is so important. You know, to wipe down all the surfaces, do it properly, professional job. We're actually getting more work than some people. In fact, if you're in cleaning, actually, I think if you're in anything, we've actually got a little thing you can email your clients, which I wrote, and with the conjunction with the division, that you can send them explaining why, when times are tough, more cleanliness is important. You really need to keep your place clean to avoid the risk of infection. That's what I was talking about, the precautions that we take to avoid being infected or giving infection, which is quite extreme. We're a lot less affected than you might think. We've actually, I know it sounds weird to say this, but we're actually having quite a good crisis because work is holding up pretty well, surprisingly well. What we are getting is an awful lot of franchise inquiries. Yes. This is actually, it mightn't look like it, but this is actually the best training course we've had for months in terms of the people attending. Most online, of course, simply because with the economy melting down, we've got work. People who are getting work from us as independents, it's all dying up. We're getting desperate calls. We've got plenty. There was a guy who was in antennas. He was taking our overflow work. He's now, and there was 4 of them actually going for it. He's now joined Jim's because he knows he can get all the work himself. So it's actually helping us in some way because we're not short of work overall. We tend to be overloaded with work for the most part. Now with this crisis, people are recognising that Jim's is a secure place. Because let's face it, if you're working in hospitality or something, where's your job? We've got work. The worst that's going to happen, maybe, is a complete lockdown. We don't think it's going to happen, but if it is, it'll just be for a few weeks. But we're going to have so much work because one of the things this will do is knock out our competition. People are going to go bust, but we won't. We'll still be here. And when it's opened up, we're roaring to go, and everybody's grass is that high, and their places are dirty and everything else. They want lots of work done. We'll be sitting pretty, and hopefully we'll have a lot more franchisees to do it because that's what's happening. In fact, we've got one of our salespeople. We've got 9 people booked in for the next training course. 9, which is amazing. The response is incredible because we've got work. I'm not saying I want the virus to happen. I'm against it. If I could stop it, I would. But from our point of view as Jim's group, it's actually probably going to help us quite a lot. All right, I don't want to take that the wrong way. Please don't. I want you to all just be safe. I don't want any of you to get ill, particularly that. I don't want any of my franchisees to come to harm. But all the same, it's not totally bad news when you've got a lot of work as we have. And one of the reasons we've got so much work, as I was saying the other morning, is because we have a reputation for customer service which is very, very, very good. And that's why, traditionally, and especially in recent years, the demand for our services is so much more than we can actually provide. We're still giving away work we can't handle. Still giving away huge numbers of jobs because we can't handle them, but less than in the past. All right, get back to the topic. What else can we do to get more work?
Coronavirus.
Well, it can do that too. Yes, all right. Well, yeah, okay. We can take advantage of it for sure. And I don't mean that. I really don't want to say things to offend people, but yes, we can use the situation to our advantage. We've got to understand how people think. If they're scared, we can reassure them. We can show them that what we do is safe, 100% safe, and can actually reduce the risk of infection. What else can we do? Let's talk about backlist. Once you've serviced a client once, and all of you, no matter what your division, most of your jobs are not going to be regular. And the regular ones are very important if you're in something like mowing, cleaning, dog wash. But you're going to get a whole lot of once-off jobs. Any client that uses you once has the potential to use you again. One of my franchisees that I was speaking to some while back, he said that whenever he had a quiet day coming up, he had any shortage, what he would do, he'd go to his backlist, and I think it was in something like Handyman actually. He would go to his backlist and he would ring clients in the area where he was going to be. And the conversation would go something like this: "Hi Betty, this is Bill from Jim's Handyman, I think it was. Look, I did some work for you back in whatever. I'm going to be in your area in the next couple of days. Is there anything I can do for you while I'm there?" Now he said on average 5 phone calls, 1 lead. And that would take him like 10 minutes. So he could always fill up a blank day by doing that. And it was accurate because he was going to be in that area. Even if he didn't get through, did he waste the call? Even if the client said, "No, nothing at the moment," has he wasted the call?
No.
No, not at all, because what they've done is you've jogged their memory, and next week they'll think of something that needs to be done, and he's top of mind, and he's around. You can do it in other ways too. You can email clients, you can text them, particularly if you've got, you said carpet clean, didn't you? Yes. Obviously one thing you're going to do is find out how often your clients have their carpet cleaned, aren't you?
Yes.
And so when it comes up to 6 months or whatever, it's in your diary, you'll actually ring them up and you'll say. This happens with our dog too. We've got a little caboodle, and Jim's dog wash does the clipping. not the washing but the clipping, and you have to put a muzzle on because it bites them. But the point of it is, she just contacts us every now and then and just says, "Look, time for a clip." Yeah, sure, come and we'll do it. And it's good. Dogs likes her and stuff. Even tries to bite, but still likes her. Okay, so it works that way. So your backlist is a very valuable resource. In fact, it is one of the assets of your business because we have a system, as you know, that gives you the absolute right to any client that you've had before. So even if it's a once-off job, even if it was 3 years ago, if you still want that client, and you can specify whether you want it or not, it's your job. If they ring the office, if they've forgotten your number, it goes straight back to you. And there's no lead fee, obviously, because it's already your client. And the same thing applies to a pickup, by the way. If you pick up a job, you let us know that client then is considered yours, and you will get it back if you want it. So backlist is a really good way to go. And the longer you're with us, the more your backlist becomes important. In fact, if you sell your business down the track a bit, and I hope all of you are going to be here till you're retired, but if you do sell your backlist, your backlist actually goes along with it because it has real value. What other ways of finding work could you have? Sorry? Uniform, yes, good. Uniform and signage together. That's a good one. Because in actual fact, this brand here, which is my unlovely face on it, I think you know that's me. It's actually a graphic based on a picture of me. In fact, if you go on the internet and you put Jim Penman images, there's a picture of me against the old style trailer, very gloomy looking. You go and look at that. That's the actual photograph this is based on. They were trying to get me to smile. By the way, does anybody know why the Jim in the logo is smiling? Does everyone know the story about that?
No.
Okay. I'm a very bad person to photograph because I don't smile easily. And they were just
The batteries on the mic.
oh, sorry. Alright, okay. Can you hear me now?
Vaguely, but
Alright, put me
yeah.
Jim, is it the one with the lawnmower?
It's actually got a trailer in the background.
A trail.
Okay, thanks. Okay, they were trying to get me to smile, and I am very bad at smiling at cameras. And they tried everything, and eventually they were getting a bit frustrated, and eventually one of my managers pretended to put his tongue in the photographer's ear. That is why I'm smiling. If anybody asks me, that's the reason. That's the one. That's exactly that one. Show it to everyone. That's it. That's the one. That's the actual photo from the logo was taken from. And that's why I'm smiling. So that's something you probably didn't want to know. They actually try other things at times too. There was one during that same session. I was really getting frustrated at me, and my manager, another manager, actually got up on a step ladder on a van, and he took his pants down, and he's wearing these bright red pants. What do you call them? Jockey shorts. I was smiling at that. That's the length these guys go to. So you can take pity on all these photographers because that's what they have to do. But anyway, sorry, I'm rambling off the topic as usual. The point about it is that the Jim's logo has tremendous power. It's enormously well known. It's enormously comforting to people. If you go out in public with the Jim's logo on, you are going to get people coming up to you. And they will ask you. We had a guy, this is right back in the 90s, we had one particular guy who'd been an independent, and that's fairly unusual actually, but he was an independent, and he came across to Jim's and he rebranded essentially, and I was speaking to him on the phone, a few weeks later. It was the middle of winter, and I was very apologetic because there wasn't a lot of work coming through. And he said, "No, Jim, don't say it's fantastic, I love it." And I said, "Why?" And I said, "Because ever since I put on that uniform of yours and started driving that green trailer around, people come up to me in the street many, many times more than they used to. And we weren't nearly as well known in those days as we are right now. So the mere fact of that gives credibility. So if you wander around the place with a uniform and with a signed vehicle, you will tend to pick up work. One of my antennas guys, I know he has this habit, whenever he has a spare time on his hands, instead of going home, he will go to Bunnings and he will park as near as possible to the front door of Bunnings and he will park there. And he said on average, half an hour there, one lead, which is an average antenna's lead probably worth a few $100, so it was really worth his while. And then when he wandered through Bunnings to buy something, people get mixed up because the uniforms look vaguely similar. I don't think they do actually, red and blue rather than red and green. But people will come up and ask him, you know, where the hammers are. And he said, look, I don't work here, but in case you need anything done, here's my business card. So that is a very powerful thing to do. The thing about that too is it doesn't need to be just when you're working, does it?
No.
When could you do it? You want to go shopping on a Saturday morning. Again, once the virus is over. But you've got to go shopping. What do you wear? Why not put a uniform top on, and why not drive the ute with the work, the signs on? And just go there and be visible. You'll be very surprised how much work you pick up from a simple thing. You want to pick up your kids from school, wear uniform, signed vehicle. People will ask you. They will come up and ask you, have you got a business card? Happens all the time. So you always take business cards with you. So exposure, uniform, vehicle, signage, it's a very, very powerful thing. And you can just park. I know in the early days of Canada, one of the things they used to do was when there was a new franchisee going to an area, they would get all the existing franchisees together and they would drive in procession right through this area. And they described one time when they were going past this football ground outside where there was a whole mass of spectacles, and they started going around. The whole crowd went completely silent watching this incredible cavalcade of vehicles going through. Did they ever forgot? It was something. We've got this exposure, so use it, and you will find work. Okay? So, another one too, to make it even easier to happen, if you can do it. They're called smile and wave. And all that's a simple thing is when you're out in public, just greet people. How's the weather? Good, beautiful weather, isn't it? Whatever, anything at all. One franchisee in my early days, a guy called Santo Zappia, had a sales background too, which tends to be a very good background for this kind of business. He said one of his rules is he never let any member of the public get within, I think he said 5 metres without some sort of greeting. And he picked up so much work, made a heap of money. Didn't stay with us for indefinitely. He actually went out, he bought a pool hall and he went into business for himself in a bigger way. But that's how he got his start, from mowing lawns. So that's good. All right, so there's a lot of different ways of doing it, aren't there? And by the way too, when you're talking about pay for work guarantee, all this sort of thing applies. You're building a backlist, uniform and smiling, you're out there in public, you're feeling motivated. It will work. It will work if you get out there and you do what you should do and you give great customer service. I don't know anybody failing for lack of work. It happens if you don't do the right thing. It can happen. Even that for many divisions, all you've got to do is to take the leads coming in. But if you don't, you'll do that, won't you? Okay, that's how we deal with not having enough leads. What's going to be far more likely for most of you is a situation, happened to some of you straight off, perhaps less now than usual, but certainly most of you within a very few months, you're going to be very busy working all the hours you want to work. How do you increase your income? One thing, don't tell me I'll work more hours, because one of the reasons that you come to us is because you want a lifestyle, don't you? It's not just about income. In fact, let me tell you something fairly straight, and I may sound like I'm putting the business down. On average, you'll probably make a similar income in gyms to what you did in your previous job. Now, that isn't always the case. We've got people who come from very ordinary jobs who become multi-millionaires out of it. Perhaps they just didn't have the opportunity. But on average, you'll make a fairly similar income. If you're used to making a very good income, you'll probably keep on making good income. If your income was more average, you'll probably, and this is after, I'm talking about after expenses and so forth. The biggest benefit that most people will feel, and when I ring up franchisees who've been around for 10, 15, 20 years, 25 years and talk to them, the biggest thing they say to me is the benefits is flexibility, it's family. It's the fact that I'm a father who sees his children growing up in a way I couldn't have done in my previous job. I see my wife more often. I've got a better lifestyle. I've got more flexibility. I can go and I can watch my son's sporting event on a Wednesday afternoon, and I can work the hours that I want to. So flexibility. So one thing I don't want to say is just work more hours. That's not the way to go. What I want to say is working as many hours as you wish to work. How can we make you more income? Give me some ways. Upsell. Good man.
Increase the amount of the service. So,
Yes. More
so you start at $60, go up to $66.
Good. That's very well said. Price. Put your price up. Now, when there's surveys, you will find that one of the things that we ask, one of the things we measure your rating, your star rating, which is very important. You know, if you're 4.6 and up, which most of you will be, you're doing well, and that matters. But also going to measure price with the dollar sign. I explained that to you on Monday, didn't I? $1 means what? You're in the lowest third in terms of being knocked back on price on surveys. $2 means middle third. $3 means top third. Now, some people see that as a negative if you've got $3, but no, it's not. If you are quiet for work in the beginning and you've got $3 signs, you're probably charging too much. That's a good sign that you should moderate your prices. However, if you are getting busy and you're flat out and you're knocking back work and you've got $1 sign, what does that say to me? You're not getting enough people knocking you back. You're too cheap. And one of the things I would routinely say to franchisees in that situation is, I want you to see $2 or even $3 signs. I want to see you charging more. You'll be very surprised how flexible people are about pricing if they're happy with you. So putting your price up is great. As soon as you get to be busy, and bear in mind, in normal situations, we're knocking back hundreds of thousands of clients a year. If we're in that situation and you're knocking back work and you could take more leads from the office, why not take a few? Now, yes, you're going to pay an extra lead fee, but if you pick up a job that's going to pay you an extra $5 every time you do it, it's going to be worth thousands of dollars to you in the long term. And that's what you want. So put your prices up. Now, in the beginning, as I said, be moderate, be modest. You won't be so experienced. It'll take you longer to do things. But as time goes by, you should be able to lift your hourly rate quite substantially as you get better at what you do and quicker at what you do, and as you have the confidence to charge clients more. That's a very good one. You had an idea?
Employ more people.
Yes. Good one. Staff is a very good idea. The whole of the gym system, as I spoke to you on Monday morning, is designed to make it very easy for you to grow your business, particularly because we tend to have a lot of surplus work. But certainly at certain times of the year, we have a lot of problem with unserviced leads. So it's a very good situation to employ somebody. As a franchisee, I've actually had people say in the past the reason they didn't want to buy a franchise is because they felt that as an independent, they'd have more possibility to grow without limit. It's actually completely the opposite. As a franchisee, you are far, far, far more likely to build a major business simply because it's so easy to find extra work. Because if you put an extra work on, you need more leads, you just simply open up your areas a bit. You might have been asking for territory only. Now you can ask for local or even all areas. Start taking more leads, getting busy. If one of your guys quits and can't work it, you just shut yourself down back to territory again. So you can actually, the work coming in tends to be very flexible. It can be up and down depending on how you go. Staffing is, so putting on staff is something that you should be thinking about if you start to get busy. At least it's worth considering. What's the benefit? Why is having staff good?
Do more work.
Yeah, you can do it quicker. Now, as an example, okay, I told you about Eric who does our place next door. He charges me $70 an hour. It's good value to me, it really is. But he's not just Eric, he's got a worker. There's two of them. So they're charging $140 for an hour. He's paying that worker, I don't know, $20 an hour, whatever. What's he making? $120 for an hour's work. That's not too bad, is it? And I don't mind it. He's a good operator and his work is good too. And does a neat job, very happy with him. But I know he's making $120 for doing an hour's work. That's great. That's a great way to do it. You can build your business up that way. If you're good enough, you can actually, maybe your workers are good enough, you can put them in charge of an independent unit. You can have more than one. And that's how you get franchisees who are turning over, you know, millions of dollars in a year. I know one Sydney guy in Sydney, in Mowing, who turns over $2 million a year. He's got 3 teams. John and Sharon Hasabella in Queensland, the same thing. I'm often in contact with them. They've got several teams going as well. It's a great thing to be able to do. And we will not only give you the leads, but we'll also give you the training and the help. And you can talk to people who've been doing this. You talk to people who've been successful at it, and they will willingly give you advice as to how to go ahead with it.
So, in that example, have they gone out and purchased another area or another territory?
No.
Oh, they haven't?
Absolutely not. It would make no sense whatsoever to do so. What they've done is gone and purchased another trailer or another van, because they need to be able to run independently. There's no value, because if you buy another territory, you've got 2 lots of fees, 2 base fees, 2 branding fund, 2 technology fees, everything. You don't need to do that. Just run it off your own territory. These guys I'm talking about, they only have 1 territory, and in fact their fees would be like a fraction of a percent, the best people, and that's how it's designed to be. So no, I would say there's very, very few situations where any franchisee in gyms would want to buy an extra business. And if they did, it would most likely be in a different division. So for example, if you had a cleaning franchise, you might want to buy the carpet cleaning rights for the same area, because you've got workers on and so forth. That could make sense. People can even have different, like mowing and cleaning, if they wish to. That'd be the only reason you'd want to, because you want to do 2 separate. If you're in the same division though, you'd be very... There's no reason, there's no value to it, and virtually nobody would ever do that. Okay, so staffing is great, staffing is good. What's the downside? What's the negative about staffing? Why doesn't everybody do it, given the volume of work we typically have?
Quality of work.
Yes, it's very hard to find good people. All right, don't let me make it sound too easy. It's not. The people that are doing this, let me tell you, they might have a good worker or 2, but they have been through an awful lot of before. What do they say? Before you get your prince, you've got to kiss an awful lot of frogs. That definitely applies in this case. Don't get discouraged. Please don't get discouraged. If there's plenty of work around, and regardless of the current situation, there will be. All of you are going to be busy within a few months. Don't get discouraged if the first person you try doesn't turn out to be great. If they turn out to be brilliant, then you probably should go and buy a lottery ticket, because you're that lucky. Just try a few different people. Give them a go for a day or 2. When you find somebody good, you look after them. You buy them lunch. You give them a bit of a bonus. You make them feel good. You praise them. Whatever. Maybe down the track you can install them a split. There's all kinds of ways of doing it. But you had a suggestion? No, it's all right. Okay. But staffing is good. I think you can employ whoever you like, but I don't know that the degree itself makes a lot of difference, quite frankly. It may be a way to look for somebody, but...
To me, it's like give them opportunity to work.
Well, that could be the case, but you might also find that a really good employee is somebody who's been doing bookkeeping for her husband's business, for example, or something like that. Somebody who's got no degree. You could try that. It'd be nice to be in a situation, but just look for somebody good. And honestly, I wouldn't. I'm never much of a fan of qualifications, I can tell you that.
No, what I mean is sometimes, students, sometimes they can't get jobs.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, so.
Well, that's right. But anybody can want a job, and if you've got work, just check their quality. I mean, use somebody who's been around for yonks, somebody in their 50s or 60s who find it very hard to find a job. I'm 67. I wouldn't like to be out looking for a job these days. I'm too old, honestly. I mean, I don't think so, but an employer would look at you and say, no, you're over the hill, Jim. But there's some great people around in gyms, and we don't have any age barriers.
That's why I joined. I'm 58 this year. I'm a finance manager, but I know if I'm out of work, the last time it took 12 months to find a job. Because of age discrimination,
yeah.
So I want to eliminate that.
But as a franchisee, that doesn't matter in its life, does it? Nobody cares. You can be 80 years old. Nobody minds. First of all, they don't know. They're ringing gyms, not you. And once you get in and prove what you can do, well, who cares? They want you because you do great jobs. And it's a great situation to be in. And that's why you actually find a lot of people very successful who actually, we've got people who are mowing lawns in their late 60s and 70s. You find, I don't know, it's surprising, but they still do it. They may not do it quite as much as they might have 20 years ago, but they still do it. So it's good. So, staffing is a good way to go, but be persistent. Get advice, try different people, have a go at it. If it works well, it can be very, very good. Look, you can get to the stage too, where we had a young bloke who'd just been going about 6 months, and he was making like $500,000 a year, and he wasn't actually on the tools anymore. He just organised people to do it, doing incredibly well. And he was like 25, which is quite extraordinary, but he was great. We did an interview. Actually, it's on. You can see it. It's on one of our podcasts. We did an interview with him.
Dan Cahill.
So what's his name?
Dan Cahill.
Yeah, Dan Cahill. Yeah, you can actually see the interview where he was on Facebook Live. Amazing young guy. His wife was there too. Okay, what else can we do?
Got one from online here, from Graham. Do a perfect job every time.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's right. That's the base of everything. If your customer service isn't good, nothing is going to work well for you. You complain about the system, you complain about the quality of the leads, but when I look at somebody who's complaining about how it's not working for them, the system isn't working, and I look and I see a 4.2 star rating with, official warning about complaints, hey, come on. The system will work if you follow the system. And most franchisees do. Actually, it's unusual to have a rating that low these days. Most people are, by far the great majority, are 4.6 plus, which is where you should be. What else can we do to make more income?
Reduce driving time.
Sorry?
Reduce driving time.
Reduce driving time. Good man. Yes.
Which means basically
That is a very...
Optimize your customer database. Try to just give the best customer.
Yeah, basically what you do, so what you're saying is you organise your customers so you're in the same year on the same day.
Say that at some point you have plenty of customers to get rid of the bad ones and keep the best ones who are the ones to pay on time well and they're close to...
But hang on a bit, why are they bad?
Maybe because they are 50 kilometers away. Or maybe because they don't pay on time. Or maybe because they're very stingy and they don't pay it.
If they don't pay on time, if they don't pay on time, you don't want them anyway. I don't want bad customers. If they're not paying enough money, what do? Put the price up. But if you get too many customers too far away, what else could you do? Sorry?
That's together. So, like, you put them in an area.
Yeah, you put them into an area, and that's like I used to do. When I was working originally, when I started gyms in about 1982, I go, Monday was Camberwell, Canterbury, Tuesday was Surrey Hills, Wednesday North Balwyn. So I had days of the week for each particular area, so I go there and do it. But what if you've got customers that are too far split? Exactly right. This is what I was getting for. What you've got to look at is a split. And don't forget, a split doesn't have to be enough to get the new person going. It can be just enough to a few people put businesses together, or even a new guy starts and there's 15 customers that you've got that are surplus. So if you've got customers that are, good ones over here, you get some over here that's too far away, say even if there's a dozen, 15 customers, sell them because they're worth good money. Now a split is very, very good money, and it's a magical thing because a split on average will make you about as much money as you're paying fees over 3 years. And there are plenty of franchisees who split every year. Now this obviously only applies if you've got regular customers like mowing, cleaning, dog wash, test and tag, those kinds of businesses. But splits are incredibly lucrative. Actually, splits in test and tag can go for 6 figures. They are really, really, really good earners. But there are plenty of franchisees in gyms who on a net level have never ever paid me a cent because all the fees they paid have come back to them in their splits. That is and it's particularly because there is so many clients around that if your service is good, it's actually possible to build your business again and again. You build it and you split it, you build it and you split it, you build it and you split it. And every time you split it, you actually get big lumps of cash. But what's the other benefit? You're shrinking your area, aren't you? You're getting rid of all the outlying ones, and you're shrinking and you're shrinking, and you're getting more and more jobs and a better and better, more lucrative business. So splitting is really good. What actually tends to happen is when people get the idea, in some regions they haven't done much in the way of splits, and then somebody does a split in that area, and they talk about it, and then suddenly everybody wants to do splits because they can see how good it is. You know, one of the interesting things about it, which surprised us when we started doing this kind of stuff, is you would think, wouldn't you, that when you've done a split, your income would drop. Okay, like say you've got 130 clients, say in a mowing business, and you split half of them off. Obviously, you'd expect your income to drop quite substantially. You know what? On the whole, it doesn't happen. And you can ask people who've done splits. Actually talk to people who've done them, and they'll tell you there's very little difference. You actually tend to do a lot more extras and stuff. You're not actually doing the base job at all. You can do extra work for clients. And you tend to split at the time of the year when there's plenty of work anyway, and so you just pick up the client base very fast. Splitting is a great thing to be able to do. It's one of the major benefits of our kind of business. You just talk to your franchisor. Just ring your franchisor and say, look, I'm interested in doing a split. Franchisors tend to like them because if somebody buys a split, they're a very good person to deal with. They've already got a full roster of clients. They tend to be really happy, easy to deal with. They're enjoying themselves from word go. It's a great situation. They don't make much money, obviously, because you'll get 80% of it. But they love doing it. In fact, I know some franchisors who won't sell a vacant run, they'll only sell splits. What about you, Mike? How many splits would you normally sell?
You sell more splits than vacant territories, but it also depends a bit on finances. That makes it harder too.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can't always help.
Because splits can be more expensive too. That's another thing too, which they should be, because if you're buying a whole stack of regular clients, then obviously it's worth more than just a vacant run with no clients and a paperwork guarantee. The franchisor will give you a guideline. But typically, you can charge at least what you charge for a new franchise, usually a bit more if it's a good business. What would you do, Mike?
For a split, so we sell them for 33, and the vacant territory is 22.
Yeah.
As a guide, as a starting point guide.
Yeah. So 33,000, 80% of that, well, you work it out, that's good money, isn't it? And your fees will be on average about $750 per month, so around about $8,000, $9,000 per annum. So if you're going to clear 25,000, well, you do the maths. It's a good business. If you're in that kind of business where you can, I really urge, in fact, putting on staff is great to go. To be honest about it, most franchisees don't actually successfully manage to put a second vehicle on the road. A lot of them have offsiders, of course, but putting a second vehicle is a challenging thing. But anybody can do a split. If you're giving great service, you can split. And it's a fantastic way to go.
So what happens if, with the split, what you give the guy's not as good as the service you were giving? Does that reflect back on you?
Well, yes, but it's not your responsibility. You don't get the blame for it. You may sometimes find a client who wants to come back to you. But on the whole, these days, most franchisees give pretty good service. We have less and less poor franchisees as time goes by. Because with things like surveys and stuff, you'll usually find that most people are pretty good. I'm not saying everybody. You might get stuck with a real bad turkey, and you might feel bad about it because you've got a client that you've really liked and used, and your clients can become your friends after a while, so it can be a little bit difficult. But at the same time, we're in business to be in business, aren't we? And ultimately, you act decently to people, but in the end, what really matters is the fact that you've got a great business making you great money, and if it's in your interest to split, then you should split. But you're carpet cleaning now, aren't you?
Yes.
So that's going to be hard. But if you've got the situation where you've got a lot of commercial jobs that are regular, then you could definitely split that. You would probably find for carpet cleaning that the premium for a split would be a lot higher because it's a lot harder to do. If I've got commercial clients that's making $1,500 per week, for example, I think you'd be charging a lot more than what Mike said if you can find those kinds of clients. They're really, really valuable. That's again why test and tag is so, why test and tag franchises I've heard them splits going for 100,000 plus. Just for the territory, just for the rights of the goodwill. Because they're so lucrative when they're that size, if it's commercial. What else can we do? How else can we improve our income?
faster technology.
Yes.
Or to buy technology who will reduce maintenance expenses.
Yes, that's right. Very good. Efficiency in terms of the way we do the job, and machinery, the best machinery possible. Okay. One of the things I used to do when I was mowing lawns, and I'm sorry to give an example because it's the only thing I've ever done to make a physical living from, I'd time myself. In those days with a watch, of course, when did I arrive, when did I leave? And I had absolutely immaculate standards of service, but I was always trying to better myself. I had ways of making that job more efficient, and I could do it very, very fast, especially things like lawn grass we used to do a lot of. Very efficient. As you get on, as you get experience, you get better and better. And that's practice, and it's also talking to other franchisees. It's why meetings are so important. You can keep on learning new things, and you get better and better. And you want the right equipment too. Generally speaking, you want the best equipment. Don't save money on that because your time is far more valuable than any equipment the value of the purchase price of the machinery that you have. Okay, so that's a good one. Definitely work on efficiency. When you're talking about, one thing we didn't mention when it comes to travel time, it's not just during the week going to certain areas, it's also things like organising your day in advance, so you don't cross over, you just go like that rather than over that. Just spending 10 minutes planning your day can save you 3/4 of an hour in terms of lost time. And the other thing too that I really want to emphasise in this area is when you start off, again, I don't want to be blunt about this, but your territory won't matter very much in your first few weeks. Unless you've bought an established business, you're not taking much work. You'll get work all over the place. As time goes on and you get busier and busier and busier, what are you going to do? You're going to shrink your areas, aren't you? But you get to a certain stage where you don't want to shrink anymore. What is that area? Territory. What you want to try and do is to take your territory always, on every situation. Even if you're busy, try and take your territory. Because you might only pick up a job there every month or two, but every job there is gold, and it makes your business better quality. And you'll pick up other jobs in the street, and people will see more of you, and people come up and ask you, and you'll build and build that local area until you become really well known. And look, we've got franchisees who don't do a single job outside territory. Long-term franchisees, and those jobs are really, really great. And if they do want to sell, they're very, very lucrative. They're very, very valuable. So you increase your hourly rate, you increase the value, because you can do more jobs in the same time. I used to have clients where I used to do 3 in a row, all side by side. And I tell you what, I loved doing those clients because they were so profitable. I wouldn't even stop my mower. I just do the whole thing, mower, brush cutter, pick up all the money. It was fantastic. I loved those 3 in a row. I had a couple like that, which was fantastic. So condense your area. All right? Look at your buying group. See if you can buy things cheaper. Things like your cleaning materials and stuff. You know, we have a policy, we don't make money out of it, but we can give you bulk buys. You can buy things like brush cutter cord or blades on bulk, because people can deliver it. We've got some very good offers. Keep an eye on the what we call the suppliers list. We've always come up with better deals. The BP card, Bunnings deal, all the kinds of things. We're always getting new deals through. We're always pushing for better deals. Okay, so there's quite a few ways, isn't there, doing it? The trick about this whole thing is to keep on developing your business. Do not regard it as something static. It's not a job, it's a business. And that's a big, big difference in mentality. You look back to where I started. I started off in the past as an impoverished mowing contractor with no capital behind me, with seemingly no chance of success in any reasonable way. Starting at a terrible time, starting in debt. I've now got a business which is quite successful, okay? It's in Australia, New Zealand, and kind of, yeah, okay. But why did it happen? Now, some people think that the picture they get is that here's a guy who's just out mowing lawns, mowing lawns, one day franchise, suddenly you're a millionaire. That's not how it works at all. What actually happened is from the first day I was out there mowing lawns, I always asked myself the question, how can I do this better? How can I do it better? Every day of my life, every day, literally every day, I ask myself the same question. When my franchisees contact me with ideas, how can I do this better? And there's a great idea and I grab it. That's one reason I love talking to you. Please don't feel You can't ring me. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know what ideas you have. You'll be astonished how much great stuff comes out of that. But the same thing applies to yourself. If you can take that attitude that every day you want to do better, I always want to improve, and then you go to meetings and you talk to your franchisor and you talk to your fellow franchisees, and this is a business, just keep on improving. There isn't any upper limit. There is no limit to where you can go in gyms. You could have multi-million-dollar businesses, you could become franchisors, you could build up some capital and do something completely different. One of my first franchisees, Andrew McIntosh, one of the first, actually joined in finding, he's now a multi-millionaire. He's bought several nurseries, he's got a construction business. He's rich as Croesus, that guy, and I'm so proud of him, even though he's not with us anymore. But he did really well out of gyms, and that was his launch in the business. Became a franchisor, launched the fencing division. He's a great entrepreneur. Any of you could be doing that kind of thing if you wish to. Otherwise, it's a great lifestyle. But I really want to encourage you to do that. Please keep in touch. I hope you've seen enough this over to know that we want to hear from you. What you do is really important. Please don't hesitate to contact me. People so often contact me and they say, oh, I know you're so busy, you haven't got... I've always got time. I always answer emails fast. I'll always take your phone call. If I can't get to you, I'll ring you back. Email is usually the best. I want to hear from you. I want to know how you're going. I want any ideas you've got, any suggestions that you might have, how we could do better. I want you to keep on learning and be prosperous. You've been a great, I must say, I wanted you to all give yourself a round of applause. Because for a group this size, you have done astonishingly well in terms of the questions, the answers that you've given. You've done as well as when we've had 4 times as many people in the training course. So that's well done. So thank you all. God bless you. I'm sorry I can't shake your hand and give you a certificate and do a selfie as I normally would, but you're just as much my franchisee as if I had. So please keep in contact, and I'll pass you over to this guy.
So, just to wrap up the 3-day generic course, for the people online first, and then we'll close you down and we'll talk to the group as a whole. We will either post or email your certificates through to you. What we will require though, for all the people online at home, we will require you to scan and email us your assessment workbook. I'll have Denise from the National Office send you an email tomorrow, so you know where to respond to, but we will need that. Now, assessment task 1 and 2, which is part of the workplace health and safety, won't be completed, so that's okay, but we will need to see the rest of the workbook completed in that sense. So if you could do that for us, that would be great, so wait to see the email from Denise. And the last part being, for all the people online tomorrow, so cleaning and mowing, who are joining us once again, sometime after 11, probably between 11 and 11:15, your two courses will live stream as well. Alright, so the mowing course will start about 11 to 11:15, and cleaning will also start around the same time. Okay, so thanks very much for your attendance. It's been great. We've seen some great numbers online. We wish you all the very best. Pity you couldn't have been here with us because it is a great location, great place, and usually our food and our buffets will absolutely feature beautifully. So.